Hello, this is Pastor James Gray from Redemption Chester with Senior Pastor Chuck Crocker. Today's topic is called Men Are Called to Be the Priest of Their Home. There's two parts to this series, so make sure you stay this week and next week for the second part. Now, what's a priest? First of all, a priest in the Old Testament was I'm talking about the high priest, was someone who was called to be the go-between between God and man. Now, he would go into the temple between the veil and the altar, and he would literally once a year go into the holies of holies and lift up prayers for himself and for the nation of Israel. He is called to pray through. This is similar to what men are called to do now. One of the issues God has put upon my heart is men love to work, but they don't love to pray. We have to understand we have to pray through, because you have to build what's called an altar in the secret place of your prayer life, the secret place. And you're praying for your family, the church, the community, and for the world. One of the key things you got to understand is this: we have to understand that we have to pray the will of God upon the face of the earth. Why do you think so many bad things happen? Why do you think revival occurs when it does occur? Prayer is the acid test, the litmus test of a move of God. If the people don't pray, nothing happens. Nothing happens. During the Azusa Street revival, they prayed and a move of God in their community in California. If you don't pray, we won't see communities change. It's not about just doing stuff. We got to do both. We must pray as men to change our families, to deal with our health, pray for our children, especially our children. It is the enemy has come in and just ravished our homes. It came in and just took our attention of our children to go into the world and be tantalized by the things of the world. But the key thing is, this prayer issue is you have to pray for yourself also. This is one of the things during the men's series, you have to pray to heal your brokenness first. You have to spend time with God so that he can begin to do a spiritual operation on your heart. You must meditate on the word, but you must give time to God to work on your character, to work on your brokenness, to work on those things in your life that are messed up, that need to be made whole. Without prayer, it's not going to change. It's not going to change. You must commit to prayer. You must balance between the prayer life with the word life, because that's where the change occurs. I'm telling you, that's where the change occurs. If we don't make this a priority as men, we're going to try to force things to happen. It's not by might nor by power, but by his spirit. Men must pray. There are more intercessors, more women intercessors in the church than men, because we have what we call a prayer meeting. Only about 3 or 4 people show up. But if we call a meeting that we're going to have a Super Bowl cookout with a big screen, everybody will be there. We will make time for what's important to us. But unless you, listen to me, unless you touch the heart of God, you're not getting anywhere. You're not going to change. You're being very religious with a lot of emotion. More importantly, your prayer life, you're praying for your spouse and your children to protect them from the attack of the enemy. If you have a call of God in your life, if your children have a call of God in your life, if your wife has a call of God in your life, he's not going to allow you to tiptoe through the tulips and become who you're called to be. Praying for the destiny of your children, praying for the destiny of your family is critical, because in your prayers, you push back the cloud of darkness. In your prayers, you destroy the demonic assignment so that they're able to accomplish what God's called them to accomplish. A lack of prayer in the home is a lack of protection in the home. Well, I'm talking about more about the secret place. Let's talk about that real quick, because as we as men make the time to build the altar in the secret place, that's where our strength comes from. I want to tell you quite frankly, if you do not give yourself to the secret place on a daily basis, you cannot overcome sin. You cannot deal with stress the way you should. You will say and do things out of character because you're not being filled up. God has to renew you because every day presents a new challenge. You must go into the secret place, what I call, we're going to get into the secret place, the hiding place, the cleft of the rock, where you could hide from God to mold you, fix you, heal you, fill you, and more importantly, spending time with your dad. God wants time with you. You're a son. Remember, your identity is a son or a daughter of God. You must spend time with your daddy. You must spend time with him to say, I don't feel like doing this today. I don't feel like going to work. I don't feel like dealing with the people on my job. All I know is, God, help me to act right today. Let me not lose it today. Give me the grace to behave myself. Let's get into the secret place. The secret place is your private time with the Lord. It's your devotion to him, that it's where you're free of ambition and earthly motives. It's a place where you go to God not to have a wish list, not to try to earn God's love, no ambition. Put that to the side. This is the place where you go to God and say, it's just me and you, God. It's a place where you connect with Jesus Christ undistracted. Like I said, you don't have an agenda. A place where you could find the depths of the Spirit. The key word is depths of the Spirit. You must get deeper and deeper and deeper into the things of God spiritually, through the Word and through prayer. You have to pay the price in prayer. No move of God has ever occurred without a price in prayer. If you're not willing to pay the price, you're just going to be a carnal Christian who does good works. It's your place of safety and security. In this hiding place, this secret place, the devil can't get you. The enemy cannot attack you in a secret place. It's a place where you're almost in a force field of God's love that the enemy cannot come in and interrupt you. It's a place where you put on your divine protection to go into the world as a warrior. When a person lacks or fails to pray or spend time with the Lord, in a secret place, old mindsets, old flesh nature, fear and anxiety and sadness, deep depression, etc., comes back like a flood. Let's stop right there. If you suffer from depression, if you're struggling with issues like drinking, let's get it straight, they're Christians, some of them are closet drinkers, or what I call closet alcoholics. Those things that comforted you in the natural before you met Christ will come back. Whether it's pornography, whether it's drugs, whatever it is, you will go back to that thing that comforted you in the past before God. When you're stressed out, what's in you comes out of you. Please understand that. Stress brings out something. The stress of pressure reveals your character. What's in you will come out of you. If you've been putting the word and prayer in you, that's going to come out of you during stressful situations. But if you haven't prayed, I'm talking about not a Mickey Mouse prayer of, say, 2 or 3 minutes praying as you're driving to work. I'm talking about paying the price in prayer. That when the stress comes, when the enemy comes in like a flood, he has no place in you. Please understand that as you clean yourself in prayer, the devil finds no place in you. There's no kinks in your armor. There is no kinks in your armor. You first pray over yourself, pray over your wife and daughter, so that if you can't find a place in you, you're trying to find a place in your daughter or your wife or your children. Please understand that. Prayer covers you, but there's a price of prayer. Let me qualify that. Effective prayer is what you need, not just praying. Effective prayer that touches the heart of God to move on your behalf. One must realize that there is one place that one is free from these things. The place where one finds peace, substance, spiritual strength is in the presence of the Lord, the secret place. You got to understand that. Because everybody has to cope. I'm telling you straight, everybody has to cope. Men have to cope. Their children have to cope. You have to find a way to cope in life without sinning. Most people who fall into sin are not bad people. It's because when times get rough and times get stressful or when they're traumatized, they turn to something to soothe their nerves. They turn to something where they can find peace. And many times it's doing something as simply they go on a liquid vacation. As a drug counselor, many people got into drugs because of the trauma in their lives and things they went through, and needed a place to escape the pain. So when people fall into drugs, fall into vices, they're not bad people. They chose the wrong thing to cope with, how to cope with life. And as a Christian, you will find out if you do not cope in God, find your peace in God, your joy in God, your rest in God, you will always have secret sin in your life. Doing something you're ashamed of, but something that gives you relief from stress. Life is stressful. Life is painful. And if you don't find that secret place for you to go to God and deal with your trauma, the pain, the stress of life, your kids act like they're crazy, have a problem in your marriage, you have to say, God, give me the strategy I need to deal with this. Give me the peace I need to deal with this. Because I don't want to say or do something I'm going to regret. In your flesh, in your unprayerful life, you're going to say and do things that are going to bite you in the butt. They'll come back to haunt you. Because in the moment, you are angry. You said something you should never said. And I'm telling you, the higher the position you have in life, we cannot afford to say things that are going to destroy our career or hurt people in our family. We need God to help us shut it. But sometimes God has to have the authority in your life to bring the power of the Holy Spirit around you to say, be quiet. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. God can help you hold your peace. When you want to just blast someone, God can help you. I'm telling you from experience, God can help you walk away from a fight, walk away from a verbal fight, a physical fight. God can help you walk away without doing or saying something that's going to ruin your life, ruin your career, or hurt your children. Only God can keep a person from going off. We must understand we are held accountable for our actions, good, bad, or indifferent. Whether you're provoked or not, you're accountable for what you say and what you do. Let's get into some scripture here. I want to talk about that. Let's go to Psalms 91. But I want to go into something called building your altar in a secret place. Why is a secret place so important? Psalms 91, my favorite scriptures. Psalm 91, verse 1 through 7 and 9 through 10. Psalm 91 begins. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Think about that. When you dwell in your prayer life, in your altar, God can cover you with his wings, shadow of his wings. I will say to the Lord, he is my what? Refuge and fortress. What's a refuge and fortress? It's a place of safety, a place to hide yourself where the enemy cannot attack you in your fortress. My God, in him will I trust. Surely he shall deliver me from the snares of the fowler and from the pestilence, from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wing you shall take refuge. Under the shadow of his wing you will find refuge. In God you will be able to trust him, and he will protect you. He shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of what? The terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor the destruction that lays waste on noonday. The enemy has a demonic assignment ready for you to destroy your life or to cause great devastation in your life or family. We don't know when we walk out that door if we're going to come home or not. Please understand that life is not promised to you. They got graves this big in the graveyard as well as this big because please understand, let me break it down for you. The enemy, the devil, is a principality of the air. That means that why do in this world bad things happen to good people? It's because the devil is the principality of the air. So when calamity occurs, it's by the enemy. The enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. It's not God. It's not God. It's the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. The enemy has the authority to cause havoc because he's a prince in he's a prince of the air. So as Christians, we've got to pray the divine covering over us, over our families, so the enemy does not have no place in us, no demonic assignment to come near us, because the angels of God are around us as we pray. We walk in God's protection. We're able to get to work without an accident. When I go to work, I pray for God's protection when I go to Alexandria and when I come back home, when I drive to work, because there is no guarantee I'm going to make it to work. There's no guarantee you're going to make it to work. Don't think it's going to be automatic. You're going to live tomorrow. People die every day from accidents, from disease and sickness. We don't know what the enemy's trying to do to keep us from fulfilling our destiny. We've got to pray. How important prayer is? During Azusa Street, let me get back to prayer. The reason why a move of God occurred is the fact that people prayed effectively to push back the principalities and powers of wicked high places over that area, pushed it back through prayer, and it changed the atmosphere that people were able to be drawn by God's Spirit, and millions of people say through Azusa Street, by the drawing of the Spirit. When you go over that community, anywhere you go, certain places you go into the community, you feel depressed. You feel anxiety and danger. You don't feel safe. Why? It's because there's a principality over that area that is hovering that causes crime and violence and intense drug addiction. It's because it's a principality over that area. It's the enemy that is literally running roughshod over the people that are doing evil and bad things. There are some places you could drive, that you feel the peace. You actually feel peace there. You feel safe there. You don't know why, but you feel okay. It's because it's the enemy over there has been pushed back by people praying in that area. This applies to you. You got to pray over your family and yourself that you will fulfill your destiny and that the enemy will not snuff out your life. Verses 9 through 10. Because you have made the Lord what? Your refuge, even Most High your dwelling place, no evil what? Shall befall you. Verse 10, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. You need God's divine protection to keep you from yourself and from the enemy, from your bad behavior and your bad ways, to keep you in check. And you need God to protect you from the enemy coming against you and your family. Let's go to Psalms 32:7. I'll give you a testimony when I'm talking about prayer. When I was in medical school, back in the 80s, I went through a time of intense depression. It was so bad. One night, I did 3 18, 20-hour shifts. I kept it into my place where I was so tired that what happened was, when you're that tired and you work those many hours, wakefulness and sleepiness come to actually merge together. You can't tell if you're asleep or awake. And things were so bad, God woke up my mother that night to pray me through that I wouldn't have a nervous breakdown. I was about to break. And all of a sudden, I felt the presence of God. I wasn't even saved yet. But my mother knew something was happening to me. She prayed through that. All of a sudden, I came to my right mind. I'm trying to keep it real with you. There are times when things are so bad, you feel like losing your mind. You feel like you're about to snap. But prayer can intervene like a praying mother and push back that insanity so that you don't commit suicide. You don't break. You don't snap. A praying mother who can intercede for his children, or a praying father, makes the difference. The reason why I'm here is because Mamie Gray prayed me through the rough times of my life when I was in a bad situation. Psalms 32:7. You are what? My hiding place. You shall preserve me from what? Trouble. You shall surround me with what? Songs of deliverance. God is your hiding place also. Another word in the Bible. God is your hiding place. You have the word secret place and God is your hiding place. We must have a place of refuge from the storms of life. We got to have a place to regroup. We got to have a place that says, I am so tired. Most people do this. Most men retreat into the hobbies, thinking that by working on their car all day, spending your free time, that's not bad, or just doing a lot of hobbies to distract their mind, they think by having emotional distraction, that's going to keep them. That emotional distraction or that drug or that drink will give you a liquid vacation for the moment. But when the drink is over, when it wears off, when the thrill is over, you still got to deal with you. You still got to deal with your own pain. You see, the enemy waits at the door of your life and says, okay, he's distracted, but when he's by himself, when he has to deal with his own emotions, when there's no distractions, the enemy comes in like a flood and says, you're a failure. Look what you did with your life. Well, look here, you don't have enough money to make it. Your kids are acting like they're crazy. All of a sudden, the issues of life come in like a flood because there's no wall, there's no divine protection, there's no dwelling place, no secret place. God is your hiding place in the storms of life to put you there, that this bubble protects you. When the lightning comes, the thunder comes, it actually goes around you. You don't even feel it. You don't even feel it. Let me give you another one. Moses, Exodus 33:13. Exodus 33. We're going to be like Moses. Don't read a scripture about the cleft of the rock. A Christian has to stop depending on his strength, his ability, and lean on God. I'll show you here in the cleft of the rock that Moses will go no place if God doesn't go before him. He will go no place. He went from being a cocky 40-year-old man, a general, powerful general in the army of Egypt, that no man stood in his presence, to a broken man, 80 years old, in the desert. God took out his strength, his arrogance, and brought him to a place as an older man who has nothing left. Being highly educated by the Egyptians, being a general, he was full of himself. But when he went to the backside of the desert, my God, those years, the backside of the desert, he was a broken man. He couldn't hardly talk. He got to a place that says, God, I'm not going to do this if you're not with me. You must go before me. I'm not going to go and try to lead a people in my own strength. If you don't go before me, I'm not going to go. Let's go into it. Exodus chapter 33. Let's start with verse 13 first through 15 first. Now, therefore, I pray, if I have found grace in your sight, this is God talking to Moses, this is Moses talking to God, show me now your way, that I may know how you and I may find grace in your sight, and consider that this nation of your people. Verse 14, and he said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Verse 15, then he said to him, if your presence does not go with us, do not bring us up from here. Let me say it again. Moses said to God, if your presence does not go with us, do not bring us. If he doesn't go before him, he knows in his own strength. How can you lead a people this magnitude without God's grace and wisdom? He's not going to try to do something like this if God doesn't go before him. Verse 18, and he said, please show me your glory. Verse 21 to 22. And the Lord said, here is a place by me. You shall stand on the rock. Verse 22, so it shall be while my glory pass by, that I will put you in the cleft of the rock, and you will cover you with my hand while I pass. There's a place in God you have to get what I call the cleft of the rock, the place close to God's heart that he will pass by you. You'll see his hind parts. God says to us, through these phrases, the secret place, the hiding place, the cleft of the rock is a place where you hide in God. You find peace in God. Because if you don't find a way to cope with life in the natural, you'll cope with life in the flesh. As a man of God, I've seen over these 40 years a number of even Christians and pastors who are closet alcoholics because the stress of life is so hard. They got to get a drink. They have to relax at night. They've got to get a buzz to cope. But they haven't learned that you got to cope in God. They didn't pay the price in prayer. They got the knowledge and gifting, but they never were able to go into the secret place, the hiding place, the cleft of the rock, where they could find their peace. I know even there are certain men of God who committed suicide. Why? They had the degrees, had the prestige, but they never knew God between the rock and the hard place. The litmus test of Christianity is to know God between the rock and the hard place. When there's no help, only in God. When the bottom falls out, when things go bad, that you can rest in God, trust God despite the circumstance to move for you. Because most people know God in their head, but they don't know God in their heart. They don't know how to retreat in the secret place. So when life comes in like a flood, when they're depressed, they go into God and says, God, help me. This pressure is causing me, I want to scream. God can lift the weight of that pressure. God could open up the Red Sea for you. God can give you peace in the middle of a storm. During those days in medical school, during those earlier days, I know it is to almost snap. The first miracle God's ever given me was peace of mind. When all and everything went bottoms out. I flunked out of medical school. I was in tons of debt. I was depressed. I mean, clinically depressed after that. But God did this. God gave me peace and took the storm of failure out of my heart so that I could cope with me. I can cope with me. Deal with the fact that it's okay. Let it go. Tomorrow will be a better day. But if you're like me, other people with type A personalities who are gung-ho about life, who literally work themselves into a hole, failure is no option for you. If you fail, you can't deal with it. If you work extremely hard and you're highly ambitious, you cannot take failure. Failure is no option. You take life by storm. You wanted people who literally run the country. Type A personalities get the job done. Don't make excuses. They work hard and pay the price. However, in life, no matter how hard you work or how much you pay the price, there is failure. There is failure. And if a man fails at his heart's desire, he falls into a tremendous depression and grief. It's almost like dying. There's a grief and a loss. It's almost like going to someone, almost like someone you love died. This is called grief. Brokenness. Grief or losing something that you value highly, that you paid a heavy emotional price. A heavy emotional price. And you can't deal with the fact you failed. God, in a secret place, can lift the depression, the discouragement, and give you hope for tomorrow. Let's get something straight. There are many people, even in the military, committing suicide. I was at Fort Lee at one point, working there about 10 years ago. Big secret. Many servicemen commit suicide. Many people who are doing something great and they find themselves crashing because when you're that depressed, going for that long, you see no way out of it. You're at the bottom of the barrel, you're looking upward, and there is no hope. Once you lose hope, you will give up and check out. That's the reality. That's the human condition. God knows if you don't have hope, you will not go on. You don't want to go on.